athletes and fans around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined today, as always, by these two great guys, starting with Chris Cormier. Hello, my friend.
Dressed to impress today. I came with my Sunday's best.
Dude.
So I can stand next to you fine gentlemen.
You got a date after the show? You look good.
I am not. I'm just doing my thing.
Sharp as a tack. Terrick, you look well as well, my friend. Life is good?
Life is good. I like when Chris dresses like this. It makes me feel like it's legitimate. I wish he would dress like this more often. He's also wearing the Cartier Ballon Bleu. Beautiful watch. He's got the chains to
represent the struggle.
Represent the struggle. Oh man, that was the best. That was the best.
So we've all been traveling around. A few weeks ago you were at FIBO, then you were in Spain, then you were here. And
what were you doing in Spain, Chris?
Well,
there was a viral video of you in Spain.
To go visit a good friend, a dear old friend of mine, six-time Olympia winner, Dorian Yates. He and his beautiful wife and his daughter, they had his 62nd birthday in Marbella. It took me on a 25K ride uphill that I didn't sign up for and ended up doing.
No, doing what? There was a viral video.
We went riding on the bike. That's it.
There was a viral video, which I'm sure Nico and Mofford can put that video on the B-roll. Okay.
What are you gonna say?
It's right here somewhere. The video on the B-roll, where Chris Cormier is doing his best impersonation of Bob Marley.
When Dorian says one more rep, you do one more rep. Okay. If he says my birthday, please take a toke. Take a toke. For your folk.
Well, we know you've trained with Dorian and you have you've done what he said to do.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, if Chong says take this cheat, you got to do it. Go right ahead.
You got to do it.
Well, you guys spent a little time with six-time Olympia winner Dorian Yates. There are two seven-time winners. Arnold Schwarzenegger, long regarded by many as the GOAT of his era, undeniably, and Phil Heath. You got a look on your face like you can't wait to get in here.
And are they less than their predecessors of the 8 Club? Are they less than as a bodybuilder, as a GOAT, as a...
That is a good question, Chris, because obviously winning 8 is impressive, Lee Haney or Ronnie Coleman, but that doesn't mean you've had the greatest physique. 2011, I think it was 2011 or 13, Phil Heath looked incredible, and a lot of people think that was the greatest bodybuilding physique of all times. You can't disregard that. Arnold, 1973 was his best physique. And, based on that era, that was a shocking physique. He shocked the world with that physique. So, Dorian Yates, 1993, he didn't win 7 or 8, but you got to put that physique in consideration. So that's a valid question. I put Phil Heath, 2013, against Ronnie Coleman, 1998, as probably the 2 greatest physiques of all times.
Wow, that's saying something. Sorry to cut you off, but you know what? One thing I'm thinking about now is you didn't have to have the best legs. I don't know if the Mr. Olympia winners had the best legs, except Jay Cutler had some great legs, great quad separation and striations. But I'm just wondering, Phil didn't display that creative quad development, nor did the Oak. It's just kind of funny. I'm just thinking about that.
But for their era, we got to go back to that era. Who else had? Well, I guess you could go back to like the Frank Zanes and some guys that had bigger legs.
Just the body part that stands out.
Yeah, there were quite a few guys. Well, so you go back to Sergio too, back in that era, who was balanced from top to bottom like nobody's business.
Yeah, that's the thing. The balance from top to bottom, the overall look. That's what I think separated them from the rest of the guys. But I was just wondering that certain body part that everyone talks about a lot, not as much as they used to, because nowadays the women have the bigger legs than the guys. sorry. I'm not talking
physique,
about you.
man.
I'm not talking about you.
You didn't make it personal until you touched me. And now I go, I know.
Now you touched me.
I've told you, if they come out with a division in golf pants, I'm joining.
He's joining.
Anything to the floor.
All the way
I'm in.
to the floor.
I think you have legs.
You walked in here.
You walk in here. We don't know how they didn't break it, but one thing is for sure. Arnold Schwarzenegger, there was one Olympia. Chris, help me understand. I think it was 1972. There was one Olympia that Arnold won, and there wasn't any competitors there. This is a fact.
It was him or one or two. Or?
So, there was a Mr. Olympia where Arnold Schwarzenegger competed, and I think he was by himself. For some reason, there was a boycott or something, and he won the title. Which means you and I could have been second runner-up in the Olympia that year. Well, we're talking about who's better, okay? Obviously, one of them is the former governor of California, tremendous movie star. He put bodybuilding on the map. Nobody can deny he was dominant during his era. But it was the beginning of bodybuilding. It was the beginning. So it's not like you had thousands and thousands of people trying to turn pro, hundreds of great pros, and then 20 mega superstar Olympias going against Phil Heath. Arnold did not have to fight against a larger pool of great talent. Now, he was iconic. He did beat Lou Ferrigno, Serge Nubret. He did beat Frank Zane and a lot of these guys. But Phil Heath went against
Olympia.
Dennis. Correct. He did beat Sergio Oliva, which is probably his greatest victory. He beat Franco Colombo. But Phil Heath defeated Jay Cutler, Mr. Olympia, Kai Green, one of the greatest of all times, Dennis Wolf, Branch Warren, another Mr. Olympia, Dexter Jackson, another Mr. Olympia, Sean Roden.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole field was stacked up. The whole top six to me was never really that great. A lot of times that Phil won. I could say the same with the Oak, Arnold, but he was pulverizing. Arnold was he's in the movies. He's on the stage. Then you see him on TV, and then he was just pulverizing. I think, he motivated and exemplified this guy that you was just like God's given. Just to go to the movies, see him in all the Conan, the Barbarian,
Raw Deal.
Oh yeah. It's just and then the Terminator and all that stuff. It just made him bigger than life. And some of the wins and losses on the stage, the controversial wins and stuff like that. That didn't really matter because he was just that great as far as all around, just like something that you want to be.
Well, I look at some things, the evolution of a sport and the evolution of the physiques. And you think about something as simple as bike tricks. And back when we were kids, if you could hop a curb, you were somebody. You could hop a 6-inch curb, you could bunny hop, you were a trickster. Now these kids got to go up a ramp, flip up twice, do a Superman, grab the back wheel, the front wheel, and sit back down on it. That's the evolution of the physiques.
Yeah.
Between back then, when you said, we're going to go do 3 hours of dips and eat a steak and drink some beer, and they looked amazing. And then you think the supplementation, the training, the sleep, the diet, the exercise, everything has evolved to that level in his era,
right,
and to the era we're at now, and you just can't compare the two.
That's a great point. All the deep tissue massage.
He did something every day. He said, and we're going to talk about his documentary coming up here.
Yes.
He talked about how he did the recovery work that no one else has ever done before.
1970, he wins his first Olympia. 2 people in that show: Sergio Oliva and Reg Lewis.
Reg Lewis.
Okay, 1971, he wins the Olympia. He's there by himself. Maybe a boycott. I don't know what happened. A transition.
Maybe he tricked people.
So yeah, to get out of the 1972.
That's a hotel.
1972, he beat Serge Oliva, he beat Serge Nubret, Frank Zane, Franco Columbo, and Edmund Karoletsky. So 1972 is a year that we got to look at Arnold. He's beating one Mr. Olympia, Serge Oliva. He's beating Frank Zane and Franco Columbo. So 1973, which was his best year, he beats Franco Columbo and Serge Nubret.
And
1974, he beats Lou Ferrigno and Sergio Nubret. Now in the light class, you had Franco Columbo and Frank Zane. 1975 is his last title on that sequence. He beats Sergio Nubret, Lou Ferrigno. In the lightweight, Franco Columbo, Ed Corney, our friend Albert Becos, Frank Zane, and Giuseppe Diana. Now 1980, which Chris thought he didn't deserve,
in Sydney.
he's never getting hired on that show.
I didn't say that. Actually, I didn't say that.
But 1980, he wins Australia, controversial. He said himself, I was in third place after prejudging. He
Sydney.
beats Chris Dickerson, a Mr. Olympia, Frank Zane, a Mr. Olympia, Boyer Coe, Mike Mincer, Roger Walker, Roy Callender, Dennis Tinerino, Tom Platz, Denny Padilla, Ed Corney, Tony Emmett, Roy Duval, Case Viator,
They had a
Samir
big
Banu, and
lineup.
Ken Weller.
Wow.
But that was the controversial one.
That was
Which
controversial.
Phil, when he beat Kai in 2014, a lot of people had Kai winning.
And also, he went against Big Ramy. I forgot the year, maybe 17.
Yeah, Big Ramy looked incredible
Yeah.
in that year.
And he was second to Phil, and it was a little dicey.
But think about, though, guys, between 70 and 75, how there was one or two or three guys here and there, and then they broke it into the light heavyweight, and the heavyweight class. There was never more than about 5 to 7 guys. 1980, all of a sudden, there's 10, 12 amazing names. Even Dennis Tenorino and Platz and Cass, all those guys. That was a huge lineup.
And we're being critical here of Arnold not competing against lineups that are 15, 20 people. Well, let's take a look at history. The reason that right now we have 15 people on 20 people Olympia lineup, that we have bodybuilding all over the world, was because this guy was doing it before it was cool. He is the pioneer. He is the icon. Anybody that denies that is either a fool or a Leo. Nothing against Leos. I'm just picking on Chris.
Okay.
Or he was
Leos, come on.
Or you were in Marbella.
Show the power. Show the power.
Smoking a mega joint.
We're not going to talk about
marijuana.
No,
okay.
Let's talk about Brazil. Didn't you go to Brazil?
I did. Brazil was excellent. Arnold Classic.
You had a great
South
time in
America.
Brazil, didn't you?
Great place. I love Brazil.
Great time,
I did
didn't
not
you?
clog any toilets. It was fantastic.
Great time in Brazil.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk less about what these two do on their overseas trips and more about Phil Heath and that great documentary they just put out, Breaking Olympia, when we come back.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And we're back, and as we just talked about how Arnold built the Olympia and really brought things into popularity and prominence, we're talking about how Phil's latest documentary is called Breaking Olympia, and so well done, guys. Danny Garcia and the $7 team, The Rock, one of the best edited, and you could tell it was done before COVID, brought us up to now, and really told that story of a potential comeback from Phil. Really awesome. Terrick?
I watched it. I sent a message to Phil. I said, man, congratulations. It was mesmerizing. Phil Heath is one of the greatest bodybuilders of all times. His 2013 performance might have been the greatest physique of all times. This guy won the USA's in 2005, black trunks. And he did everything right in his career. He won the New York Pro. He won the show in Colorado. But he lived a phase. He lived a time where no other bodybuilder experienced, which was the social media boom. Jay Cutler didn't live that. Ronnie didn't. You know, it was a few videos of YouTube. But Phil was the first guy that had direct contact with his fans on the daily basis. And I think we have not done justice to Phil Heath. I think Phil got a bad rep for responding to the fans. I think he got a bad rep for expressing himself. I think he got a bad rep because he wanted to revenge people that were attacking him. The reality is Phil Heath is a really nice guy. Phil Heath is somebody that I've seen going out of his way to help others. I remember him guest posing in California, and he's being super nice to the fans. Now, he was attacked on social media because we hate the guy who winning everything, right? We hate Tom Brady for some reason. We hate Michael Jordan. I lived the Michael Jordan era. People couldn't wait until Karl Malone, Charles Barkley beat him. And then the Tom Brady era. We couldn't wait for somebody to take down the Patriots. And it was the same thing with Phil Heath. And he was dominant, and he responded to fans. He responded to all trolls, and he responded to everybody. And I don't think he got the love that he deserved. He's not as loved as Arnold. He's not as loved as Ronnie. But none of those guys were attacked as much as Phil. I love Phil Heath. I think he's a freaking awesome bodybuilder. I root for Phil Heath. And I think we got to do justice. We got to recognize he's a great bodybuilder. And this documentary touched my heart. You have to watch it to understand Phil Heath and what he went through.
Yes, he went through a lot. And I mean, I remember the first time I saw him, he just turned pro, and he came in the Gold's Gym Vintage. He always reminded me at this time because when he came in, and normally when we saw new guys come into Gold's Gym, it wasn't like the welcoming party, and we went up and just showered them with gifts and shirts and everything. So we just kind of like shrugged him off like he's just another guy coming into Gold's Gym in our domain and unannounced type of thing. You didn't let us know you're coming. So we just kind of like gave him he said I gave him the cold shoulder. I just remember him just coming in and he was flaring his lats and stuff coming through, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, now we got to deal with this guy. Who is this guy? And so so I didn't really go up and give him a greeting hug and everything. But he reminds me of this same day all the time. And I feel bad now that he won 7 Olympia titles and went on to be one of the greatest bodybuilders that we ever seen grace the stages. I do know he went through a lot of ups and downs in his career, a lot of trials and tribulations. But I think he handled it well, being the first one that actually had to go through it. I don't know how I would have did if people were attacking me on a daily basis. Every time I pick up my phone, everything I did was, went viral damn near.
Yeah.
Went through the things with, with his ex-wife and everything, the trials and the tribulations. That brings into your training for some of these shows. Beating I think it was breast cancer, I believe. And, just everything he went through was just remarkable how he came out. And that's why I was rooting for him when he came back and did a comeback. And was he top 3?
Top 3.
He was third place, yeah.
Third place. So,
I think that one of the things the documentary showed the most was the perseverance and the mind of a champion. It showed how he had to dial in, shut everything out, train late at night in people's gyms, and he was going to Armbrust at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning with Cherie, and just working to get back on that stage. And nobody goes back after the injury. I believe that was the hernia that happened, and all the social media stuff.
Poking the fun at him.
All that stuff. And
calling him bubble gut.
He just, like a champion, was not just going to get back on the stage. He was there to win. But when it all boiled down, it was there. He said, I just need to know I could come back and I could put in that
and
work.
I think also with his torso, it's not like a elongated torso. So you can get to a certain weight, and that's where your weight's going to be for that physique. If you go over that, then you can get a distended stomach and all the different stuff. I still think he could have even brought his physique in. I mean, I wouldn't have stepped away. I would have just kept hammering at it, and then you could walk away at a certain time. But he chose to do it the way he did it. And but you know, great guy. The personality you see on social media is not what you see when you know him on a personal basis.
He called himself the dream killer, and some people associated that as him being arrogant, him being, insensitive to other competitors. No, man, that's what you got to do to be the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Go for the judging.
In order to be Phil Heath, in order to win 7 times, you got to keep that mentality that you are going to annihilate the competition. Arnold did that. He made fun of Lou Ferrigno. We love Arnold for making fun of Lou Ferrigno. Nobody's going in saying, well, Arnold, you were degrading another human being, right? Dorian Yates, he was isolated in the UK. He wasn't at Golds in Venice shaking hands with other people. Oh, we have this image that he was the shadow. How cool. He's working at a basement. Ronnie Coleman was not in Venice shaking hands with everybody. He was in Texas doing his thing. And we don't criticize him for it, but Phil Heath having that same mindset, and now we criticize him. I think this documentary humanizes him in a way that people should have said, you know what, this guy was cool. All he did was compete, have a mentality of a champion, and just because he reacted to some Instagram thing, that doesn't mean he wasn't charismatic. He is a charismatic champion. I'm proud of Phil Heath, and I love the fact that he came in and he took third. That shows him he's not scared.
He literally came off the stage and was taunting one of his social media rivals right away. Like that was on his mind, was to let him know, yeah, I won it, and now what you gonna say?
He said, now I got $400,000 in my wallet. Where are you at right now? And that was when he won his 7th title. He's walking off and he's on Instagram talking about this troll. Do I think Phil would have taken a different direction now that he's older? Yes, I think he would have. Was I on Phil Heath's shoes, being criticized, being hammered on the internet for 12 months nonstop? No, I wasn't. So who are we to say how he should have reacted if we were not on his shoes?
In or on?
in, on, whatever.
Just wondering.
So, you talk about the
stop this fool.
You always say on when it should be in.
I said in.
I let you get away with it all the time.
I said in.
You always say that in large clavicle bones and we had to
What about you saying the sartorius muscle? Everybody has a sartorius muscle.
Because they were called Cormiers
we
back in the day.
can put an elephant on the freaking screen and he goes, the sartorius muscle. Oh, yeah, the elephant with the sartorius muscle.
Before we get too jumpy, the elephant had green trunks. We know that.
And he was a freaking Leo.
Well, I will tell you a great story about Phil a couple years ago. And I love the ferocity of a champion. And like you said, when someone wins consistently or someone has that ferocity, people will look to that they're afraid or they want to bow up to try to protect their own ego and say, oh, that guy's a jerk, that guy's this. It was Olympia a couple of years ago. And we're doing the broadcast. We just finished. And Phil was seeing something in Derek, and he wanted to get that ferocity out of Derek. And it was one of my fan moments where I still look at this sport, and I'm still this 15, 16-year-old me peeking over the fence at Muscle Beach, watching you guys train, watching guys come out of Gold's Venice, looking through the fence at Gold's Venice at my heroes. Phil says, come here, man. Let me ask Hani if I can show Derek something. And Phil says, all right, resting relax. I get in my front pose, and he goes, all right, quarter turn to the right. I turn to the right, and Phil gets up behind me. He goes, Derek, you got to get up there, bump him, get up there and close the gap a little bit, show him you're there. when you go into front double by, Timmy, I hit my front double by, and he's doing the Kai Green thing, smashing my arm. And not only was I totally excited, but it was just that mindset of him telling Derek, you got to go up there and earn your spot and fight that out.
And let me ponytail whip you like Kai.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, you know, listen, you can't, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're not charismatic, if you don't respond, people think you're isolating yourself. You're not a great representative. Bodybuilding grew with Phil Heath. He was a superstar. Shaquille O'Neal was sitting on the first row at the Mr. Olympia, and they put the mic on him and say, hey, what do you think about the Mr. Olympia? And he said, bring Phil back. Okay? That's how good Phil Heath is. I love Phil Heath. I lived that era. I think I'm a huge fan of his. And if you're a fan of bodybuilding, I beg you to watch this documentary, because you'll understand bodybuilding, you'll understand determination, and you'll understand who this guy, Phil Heath, is. He did not succeed as a basketball player. And he's very clear on the documentary. I didn't make it as a basketball player, but I did everything I could in bodybuilding, and I became one of the best, and he did. Watch it, is beautiful.
Breaking Olympia, it's available on your pay-per-view channels. Check it out, the Phil Heath story. When we come back, we're going to have more primetime muscle and try to leave some epic and iconic content ourselves right after this. Much more to talk about today on the show, and one of them is shows and promoting those shows. We got everybody. Everybody wants to jump in. It's like owning a bar. Everybody thinks because they can drink, they can own a bar. But there's so much more to it. Successfully for not just financially successful, but successful for the competitors. You, sir, have promoted a whole lot of shows.
Yeah, and you know, we just had the Fuad Abiad show. It's not the Fuad Abiad, it's the Detroit Pro, and Fuad, Paul, and I think there was another partner there, 3 guys. They put on a beautiful show in Detroit. They paid, you know, $27,000 to the winner, $12,000 to the second place, with posing award, with most muscular award. Some
Most
people were
shredded
critical
award.
about it, and I got a little pissed. I'm like, dude, these guys are passionate about bodybuilding. They're putting on a show. They're paying the bodybuilders a lot of money.
So
RP.
what did they do right, and what was different about how they did it?
Well, I think they did a black background, and they
were proud of the back.
they were proud of it, and it looked good. The pictures were good. Some people were critical about the expo or something, and I took it personal, because I said, do you know how hard it is to promote a show, to get everything right? And I want to commend these guys, because I think they did a great job.
So let's talk about black background, because a lot of people, you know, we've gotten really excited by these LED walls that everybody putting up there with the sponsors on it, the name of the show. But how much do you feel, Chris, that those lights and colors and changes take away from the athletes and their physiques?
I understand the business of it. You know, I did a couple of competitions where I was able on that side of the promotional side, so I get it. I understand the whole thing. You know, doing the peer judging is very, very ticky-tack. Like, some of the people that's winning first and second is very close, and a lot of times the actual competitor himself would rather the attention be all on them. You know, for myself, I thought, you know, you want to draw attention to the body, and if you have something that you got to contend with, like different lights and stuff, for a competitor, I can understand them wanting more of a plain, blacked out background.
Now, Terrick, here's something I got to ask you. As far as an NPC promoter, what brings out the athletes And the athletes bring out the fans because it's the family and friends and coaches and those people. That's who's in the audience. But, I get these guys that say, oh, the athletes come to me because I take care of the athletes.
Butts in the seats.
A one-colored T-shirt and a couple of cookies backstage is not taking care of the athletes.
Right.
So I often say, when it comes to the amateurs, you're not in the bodybuilding industry. You're not. Anybody who's promoting shows that thinks they're in the bodybuilding industry, promoting shows for amateur athletes, you're making a mistake right off the bat. You're in the business of making people feel like stars in the amateur ranks. The person who paid you money on the internet 12 weeks prior to the show, a lot of times has no intention of going to the Mr. Olympia. A lot of times this person just went through a divorce. A lot of times this person has lost 50 pounds and they just want to finish with 30 more pounds. A lot of times people are getting married and they want to get on a diet, they decide to do a show. So do not approach it as everybody is going to try to beat Terrick Lunsford at the Mr. Olympia. Most of them don't even know when the Mr. Olympia is. They're there because they want to feel special, they want to feel like stars. So their pictures are important. Their tanning time is important. The meeting that you do prior to the show, how comfortable they feel with you. The judges going around shaking their hands, telling them congratulations, right? For every NPC competitor, the average is that they bring 2 people. So then you calculate, you got 100 competitors, you're gonna have 300 sitting down. All that comes into play.
And all of it matters, from the parking, from how much space you have backstage, to, is everything running on time and running smoothly with the judging switching in and out? Was the lights correct? Was the lights right? Did they spend enough money on the lights to make a great show? Concession stands, how much is that gonna cost? Everything that goes into a show, you don't really think about that and promoting, trying to recruit people to do the show. That's a whole nother animal.
So those are some do's. Let's talk about a couple of don'ts. What don't you do?
Well, the first thing that you don't do is to tell the competitor who's competing for the first time the exact time that they're going to go on stage. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the first thing. I see people, expediters, telling him, I think you're going to go on stage at 12:30. No, don't do that. You don't know how long it takes to judge the women's physique class C. It could take 5 minutes, it could take 30 seconds. We don't know when Terrick Lunsford is going to be on stage at the 2024 Mr. Olympia. Anybody that tells you that, they don't know anything about promoting. You don't know how long it's going to take to compare the first call out. The second thing is, especially in the amateur ranks, they are nervous. They're anxious. They have never done this before. I always did a meeting in the morning prior to them going on stage, a dress rehearsal. You're going to go from this side, you have 10 seconds in the box, then you go on the diagonal. Look at the judges. The judges are going to tell you to switch your numbers. Switch your number. That's why I love seminars prior to the competitions. You can't assume because you're having a pro show that the amateurs have that experience and knowledge. So communicating with the amateur competitors what's going to transpire is going to make your show better, smoother.
Well, that's one of the issues, and I just saw this a couple of weeks ago. I was emceeing a show for Mel Chansey and Tim Gardner out in Florida, and the coaches only told them so much. And both of these girls won their classes, and now they're coming out for an overall. And the little girl leans over to me that won A and goes, I don't know what to do. And I said, look at the girl who won B and C and do that. And the girl who won C leans over and goes, I've never been this far either. I don't know what to do. So I said, listen to the judges. And the girl in the middle says, I can't hear the judges. So it's not like they're going to go, okay, quarter turn to the right. Which direction's right? I forgot which one. It just all kind of fell apart.
And the biggest problem is this, that we are fans of the pros, naturally, right? We're fans of the pros. We go to the Mr. Olympia. It's the big show. Well, guys, Terrick Lunsford has been competing for 15 years. He knows where the box is. He knows who's going to switch numbers. He knows after a back double biceps, there's a back lat spread. The amateur competitor does not know that. And it's you catering to that competitor, you making that experience unforgettable that guarantees that competitor to come back. And what happens? That competitor takes 4th place, gets a medal. He's happy. He goes on social media and posts on Instagram. On Monday, when he posts, there's going to be 2 or 3 other friends that are saying, man, next time I want to do it with
that's
you.
That's the thing with bodybuilding. I mean, you know, to travel the world and to touch and to motivate and, you know, change a lot of lives. And some people you don't even know that you even touched, and you did a lot for their life, just doing what you're doing.
And sorry, I feel passionate about this. I was in Vancouver a few weeks ago judging a show, and it's my second time there. There's a competitor, Sean McMullen. It's his second time that I see him on stage. He has a disability, and I told him, you need to gain mass, right? And he came back on stage, and he was competing in the classic physique. He gained mass, and I was so happy for him. These jackasses on social media, they're not going to cover that.
No.
Because that might not get views.
Right.
But we're going to mention that because we believe that bodybuilding has saved millions of lives from obesity, from drugs, people that have disability, people that are blind competing. So I'm very, very happy to be promoting bodybuilding shows, to be in an industry that has saved millions of lives.
It is one of those sports, guys, where guys do it for, men and women do it for personal reasons, but it's to see how far you can push, like climbing a mountain or running a marathon. You want to see what you're made of and show off all your hard work.
And it was never really about funding or how much money you're gonna make or something like that. It was all about the process, the love of the manifestation of a beautiful physique, and you know what you had in your mind, what you can actually create. That was always, you know, the main motivation.
Well, whatever your motivation is, we want you to see you up on stage, and if you make it to the pros, you make it to the Olympia, we're going to be here cheering for you the entire time. Guys, it goes by so fast.
Like and comment.
Share, subscribe for sure to Olympia TV. Terrick?
Subscribe to Olympia TV, guys. It's the best channel in bodybuilding. We got Chris Cormier, we got Tim Wilkins, we got Olympia, we got the Tim Wilkins experience. That was a success. We got the Linda experience, Linda Murray experience, Olympia battle, Olympia live. We're the only ones in the check-in room at the Olympia stage. Subscribe right now.
Guys, great to see you as always. Chris Cormier, Terrick El Guindy, Tim Wilkins for Primetime Muscle. We look forward to seeing you week after week with more episodes. We'll see you next time.